Hey partners, as you know, one of my greatest joys is recognizing how important you are to the commercial fishing industry. But did you know that POCFs are also the biggest influencers when it comes to safety? In fact, the number one reason that fishermen say they wear safety gear is, quote, because my partner tells me to. That's the power of love, and it plays a vital role in keeping our fishermen safe. Talking to your fishermen about safety can reduce the current reality that 80% of fishermen who are lost at sea weren't wearing a PFD. We can change that. That's why I'm proud to partner with Kent Safety Products. They make Coast Guard approved PFDs and innovative flotation gear designed specifically for commercial fishermen. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and made to move with fishermen no matter the fishery, because the best safety gear is the kind they'll actually wear. And just so you know, we only partner with companies that genuinely care and produce high-quality products for the well-being of our fishing communities. Kent Safety Products is definitely one of them. Visit KentSafetyProducts.com to find the right gear for you, your fishermen, and your kiddos too. That's KentSafetyProducts.com.
I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Hey, partners of commercial fishermen, welcome back to another episode of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. I'm so happy that we get to hang out. This is one of my favorite times of the week because we really do get to connect on a more intimate level than just on social media or even the blog, even though I love the blog so much. It's almost, I will say, as intimate, but not even close to how we get in the private group chat. If you really want to connect, that is where the juicy goodness is. And it's private, so I can't really reveal all that much. But if you want to learn more, you can go to POCFpride.com. And if you're new here, I'm your host, Megan Waldrop. Pull up a seat at our table. There's always room for you. This is where we get down to biz on a lifestyle that not many people understand, and we are the lucky few that can. And today I have a very special announcement. It's actually, by the time this comes out, it will be October 1st, Wednesday in 2025, which is the first day of spiny lobster season in California. Spiny lobster season starts the first Wednesday in October every year. And so, which is very aligned with the announcement to let you know that we sold the fishing business. Chris is not fishing in California this year. This is the first time in 10 years of our relationship that he is not actively commercial fishing. And it has been a transition, as most big changes are, not just for him, but for me as well. And I want to share with you today how we've gone through it and what the future may hold. And for us, Partners of Commercial Fishermen, we're here. This is a stake in the ground. This is our community. The community is not going anywhere. But because our careers are shifting, or his career especially, I wanted to share how it can affect both of us. I mean, it's not just him, obviously. Once you're a partner of a commercial fisherman, the salt's in your blood. You've been dedicated to this lifestyle for so long. You've done things you never thought you would. You're stronger because of it. Your relationship's stronger because of it. And it's this incredible bond that we have with people, no matter how long you've been in the fishing business. And that's one of my favorite things about it is meeting other commercial fishermen and partners that have, maybe they fished for a handful of years or they were in it for the long haul and they retired. And there is this subtle shift of, oh no, where's my community going? What am I going to do next? Like, how does this fit? How does this new life fit within our normal quote unquote patterns of how we've been living? And once you're a commercial fishing family, you'll always be a commercial fishing family. I've said that to everybody who has transitioned out of the industry in our community, and maybe they've moved on to different jobs with their partners. And I'm like, you're always a part of us, because that's how it is. That's how I feel about my military child background, which is really one of the big inspirations of why I started this community, because the lifestyles are so similar to that of military spouses and the soldiers. I mean, they're going off to dangerous places for long periods of time. You don't know when you're going to talk to them again. You're worried for their safety. And then there's, the long distance part, but then there's that reunion and that interesting adventure. In military, it's a lot of moving around. And in commercial fishing, it's your partner going off to incredible different places to fish, and you get to enjoy amazing seafood. The list goes on. But my point is, being the military kid, I'm always going to be a military kid. Anytime I meet someone who's in the military or retired from the military, or a military kid who's my age, I'm 43, we instantly connect because we get it. I love asking the question, where are you from? And they always say, well, I'm a military kid, so it's kind of hard. I'm like, me too. I totally get what you're talking about. And that's how it is when you talk to any commercial fishing family person in the industry, outside the industry, that understands it, who has lived it. So my point is, you might be listening right now and you are in the same boat. No pun intended, but it's the tide that binds forever. And so I want to make that clear too. And it's funny because once Chris sold the boat, I'll get into this later too, but once he sold the boat, he went from I'm done with fishing to I'm done with fishing for now to I wonder what that fisherman in California or in North Carolina is doing and if he needs a deckhand. So to be continued. The fishing life never stops. And honestly, a week after he sold the boat, we bought another boat. So that's the way it is, right? We have a boat parked in our front yard right now. So it's the salt life, hashtag salt life continues. But I did want to talk about the transition, and I've made notes about this for over a year now because it has been such an affecting experience for us. So I'll start by saying that Chris has on and off fished since he was 15 years old and consecutively fished for the last 10 years of our relationship. And I know even before that. So he started spiny lobster fishing with his dad when he was 15, then with his uncle. He'd go to Bristol Bay. Then he owned his own boat up there in Bristol Bay with his sister. They sold that boat. Chris bought the lobster boat in Massachusetts and had it trucked over to California because shout out to East Coast. We know that the best lobster boats are built on the East Coast. We represent. And he built the spiny lobster business in California. And so he was fishing, I think he started in 2019 in California. And this is all the while he was going back and forth to Bristol Bay, Alaska each summer to deckhand after he sold the boat. So we always had that. And he's fished in Cordoba. He's dove for sea cucumbers, which I didn't even know was a thing. So he's been in 4 fisheries, 15 different seasons plus since we've met. And that experience with him is what birthed this incredible community, the Partners of Commercial Fishermen. And may we live on. So Chris has talked about retiring or selling the business or getting out of fishing for years. And he was just wanting a change. You know, he's been in it since he was 15 years old. I mean, he just wanted to try something new, totally valid, obviously. But he would talk about it and it became a source of frustration for us both because I felt he would talk about it and maybe I wasn't asking, hey, would you like some feedback? I was just giving my advice and he didn't want to hear it. And so he would get frustrated and then I would get frustrated, you know, typical relationship stuff. So it was last fall, start of the season, and he kept talking about it. I said, you know what? I love you for the benefit of your future and for the sake of our relationship. And I say this with a wholehearted love. Please seek professional guidance on this because I can't help you. And I want the best for you, obviously. But obviously, I'm not able to communicate that. And so I told him that BetterHelp virtual therapy was super helpful for me and maybe he would try it. And I've talked about BetterHelp before. I love the convenience. You can video chat, you can text, you can call. It doesn't matter. You can connect with a therapist in any way you want to. And it was such a game changer. And for him, it was such a game changer. His therapist, he found one that he liked. And it ended up being more of a life coach situation. So you can go into these virtual therapy sessions and say, this is what I want to work on. And they're like, cool, they'll meet you where you are. They don't have to say, all right, go lay down on a couch and let's talk about your family traumas. They don't need to start at the beginning. He was able to talk to somebody to actually get some positive feedback and direction on what to do next. And honestly, it was kind of nice to have someone else who didn't understand the industry in that way, just to give practical advice on how to move forward. So he would even call the therapist. He would call. He'd phone called. He didn't do FaceTime. He didn't do Zoom or anything like that. He wanted to chat on the phone. So he would park in the marina when it was time for his therapy session, and he would call the therapist and they would talk while he was in the parking lot, and then he would hop on the boat, or he would do it after he was working on traps. He was doing it at the parking lot in his van. So it was in a place that he felt comfortable. And the therapist would give him practical advice to move forward, like things like, hey, okay, next time we meet, how about you gather the information that you had questions about online, do some more research. Okay, next session, why don't you call those people that you know who are in this next career that you want to get into and get those answers, those questions answered. It was stuff like that, very small baby steps, but it was amazing. And I'm not going to say exactly what Chris is going to do next, but it is in the maritime field. I want to respect his privacy as we transition forward, if you will. But, it was so helpful. So that was November, December of last year. So then January comes and it's time for us to think about selling the boat. And this is where I start writing notes, and I'm reading the notes right now. So the spiny lobster season, it starts in October and it goes until March. So January, we're thinking about, okay, we got to start thinking about how we're going to post this boat. He's making a list of all the improvements that he wants to make to the boat and things like that, because we want to sell it at the end of the season when people got money to buy the boat. Obviously, we want to match the market. So when people have the most money. So the thing was, I wanted to obviously help because that's what we do. We're partners. We figure it out. Okay, what's the problem? All right, let's do this. We got this challenge. We can work on it together, utilize my skills as a partner of a fisherman. I know how to handle and adjust when needed. But that also became a little bit of a tension point for us because, well, I'm working on it. I love to-do lists and to take control of things. And I realized that Chris is his own boss. He owns that boat. He knows that boat better than I would. And he was okay with me helping to write the listing, but then he started to become resistant. And I asked him why, and he said, well, this is my business and my transition. I'm going to handle it the way I want. And I was like, whoa, okay. A little hurt, but I have to respect his space because this is a big change for him. Of course, he called 2 hours later to apologize and said that he'd love for me to help. And he's just so used to doing things on his own that sometimes it's hard to ask for help. And I really appreciated that. And I love that we have that kind of communication in our relationship. I'm sharing that also to tell you that when there are big changes, big feelings come about that really have nothing to do with you. It's your partner going through their own thing and trying to figure it out themselves. And so if that ever happens, no, just be on standby. As long as you guys keep respecting each other in that way and you come back to center, that's all that matters. So, I realized it was deeply personal for him and for both of us, and we handle it completely differently. Like I said, I'm a planner. I love details and getting all that, checking off the list and everything like that. But I wanted to honor his emotions and that he's making the best decision for himself to move on. And we could process it like that. But it's funny because how we process feelings, I learned from when we owned a sailboat together and sold the sailboat. So quick story on that. Most of y'all have known if you've listened to this podcast, but we would sail on a sailboat. We went from Bellingham, Washington, down the west coast of America, down to Baja, Sea of Cortez, all the way down to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico over a 2-year period, except for the times where he would fly back to Bristol Bay to catch salmon. Then we jump back on the boat and do it again, just pick up where we left off. And so there was a point where he wanted to sell the sailboat because he wanted to buy a fishing boat. And so I knew that this was possibly the last time we were going to be on the boat. We were selling it on it was our last cruise. We were going north, actually, from Puerto Vallarta to Mazatlan. And I was bawling my eyes out. It was the last sunset on the boat together out in the wide blue ocean, Sea of Cortez, and just watching it and this was our home. This is a place that kept us safe for 2 years. And I really started to get used to the sailboat life. It was like just as soon as I started to get used to it, now it was being ripped away and we had to figure out something else new. And I'm just crying. And I'm like, isn't this just sad? And his face, he was so stoic. He's like, no, I'm ready. We could just sell it and go. I'm like, what? Do you have a heart? What is happening here? I realized later that he processes things so differently. He has a goal in mind. He's like, all right, boom, we're going to rip the Band-Aid off. Boom, boom, boom. And then he'll reflect later and be like, wow, yeah, I am a little sad. That was such an incredible adventure. That boat was such a good home for us. And I'm like, man, damn it. Why couldn't we mourn together? Why couldn't we cry together and hold each other during the sunset instead of just being pissed at each other when that's, projected, misdirected emotions, which I'm sure y'all understand. Like before your fisherman goes away for a while or for a long period of time, and then you guys get in stupid arguments. We used to do that before you'd go to Bristol Bay and stuff like that. Even before you'd go to California when we bought a house in North Carolina, it was that kind of misdirected emotional hot mess. So we ended up selling the boat, thank God, which was amazing. I mean, I was very sad, but we ended up selling it at the dock a few days later, and it was meant to be. But I remembered, okay, yeah, he processes emotions differently. And also, we have great boat karma together. We can sell a boat. We're going to sell this boat. There was no way that we weren't going to sell this boat because I couldn't not think about if we couldn't, because that's not the energy I wanted to put out there. So for our to-do list, I'm reading this too from the notes. Number one, that's been helpful, therapy. Therapy for the fisherman. Therapy for you if you need it and want it. Also, I'm skipping ahead here, but we're going into couples therapy soon. We've already signed up and we are figuring out which therapist we want to work with. And I mean, right now, everything's smooth sailing in our relationship. Of course, relationships go up and down, but we want to learn the tools that we can help so it doesn't get so down as it has before, just like little dips. How can we better communicate, especially during this transition of what his next career move is going to be? It's a very new and strange, but great. But also we're still kind of feeling it out that he's not going back to California right now. It's September when I'm recording this. He'd be building traps right now. And the fact that he's still in North Carolina is mind blowing, that he gets to see what the weather transition's like over on the East Coast. He's never done that before. So we're just getting used to new things. And yeah, have we gotten into it a few times over stupid stuff that doesn't matter? Of course. And I know that it's that feeling of not knowing where to go next. So it's misdirected and it's all good. We're figuring out. But therapy, number one, therapy, huge, huge help during a transition like this. Then we wrote the listing. I looked at other boat listings to see what was out there. And it's interesting. Some boat listings are very detailed and some have like 4 bullet points and they're in a number and a really foggy looking photo. And you're like, I don't know if that's really the best way to sell a boat, but we got the listing down, had listed all the bells and whistles, all the improvements he's done to the boat, which were a lot, which was amazing. He was selling everything, the traps, the trap building table, the receivers, everything. He built the effing business from the ground up and he was selling it all. So whoever was buying the business was getting a great deal because it was a turnkey lobster biz, except for one thing, which I'll tell about in a second. But leading up to this too, we met every Sunday to talk about our financials, the end of season calendar, planning, and the boat sale. So every Sunday we would sit down, we would put our egos aside, we'll try to calm those triggers down because talking about money for us in the past has not always been great, but we have leaps and bounds improved. And now it's just like, hey, let's talk about numbers because it's all good. And so we've gotten practice makes progress in that area. So we would talk about financials every Sunday. Okay, this is what it's going to do. If we had to list the boat, how much are we going to have to pay? We didn't want to pay a boat broker. We didn't want to pay any online website or magazine to list the boat yet. If we had to go there, we would, but those were both last option things. So we met every Sunday. And then it was, well, why don't we ask people? Obviously, the best thing to do is ask people around locally who may be interested in buying a boat. And so he asked around, he asked different fishermen. Oh, the other options we were going to do is Facebook groups and any fisherman groups in your area. In California, we were going to reach out to all different fishermen groups in that area. But Chris talked to one of his former deckhands and said, yeah, I'm selling the boat and I have a guy interested. And the deckhand said, well, I'm interested. I want to buy it. That's my boat. We're like, hell yeah, this is great. But the one caveat was he wasn't going to buy the boat unless he could buy the permit too. And Chris leased his permit from his father. So we didn't own the permit to sell with the boat. So the guy was like, Ryan, shout out to Ryan. It's amazing. He's, I'm not obviously smart business move for him. Obviously, he wants the whole business turnkey. He needs a permit to fish it too. So we didn't know what to do. We're like, well, if we can't find a permit, they were kind of hard to come by in that area that we knew of. We can't sell this boat. And we had people kicking the tires, or however you say it, kicking the fenders, I guess, if you're selling a boat, that they were looking at it and things like that. But we wanted Ryan because he knows the boat. He loves the boat. He fished with Chris. He was family. So he got it and he would appreciate it more than anyone else. So what did I do? I put on my POCF hat on, went into full POCF mode, and reached out to other partners in different areas of California to see if they knew anybody who was selling a permit. Lo and behold, a woman in San Diego, I'm not going to share her name, but I want to say, I love you. Thank you so much for helping us get this. She gave me the contact information for a guy who was selling a few permits. And I didn't know if it was going to work out, but Chris ended up giving Ryan, our deckhand, former deckhand, now captain, the guy's name, and he freaking got the permit. It was amazing. And I felt so validated, not only because I could help Chris, but because the partners of commercial fishermen, once again, we are the backbone of the industry because of our community and our connections. We were able to find a permit that was the whole reason, that was the whole way that we could sell this boat. We leveraged the deal because we were able to find that permit. So thank you to the power of our community and individuals like us making it happen behind the scenes. Mic drop. Hell yes, we got this. And that's the other thing. If you guys are looking to sell a boat, permit, anything like that, hop in that private group chat. Like, we got you covered. We can put the radar out and we can find what you need. We've had such an incredible network. It's amazing. So shout out to us. If it wasn't for us, the boat sale wouldn't happen. So I just want to say, boom goes the dynamite. Hell yes. Okay. So how did I emotionally prepare for the transition myself? Well, I journaled. I cried when I needed to. I definitely cried because every time Chris would send me a picture of the sunrise and the sunset as he was going out last spring, I thought, these are the last pictures I'm going to get on his boat going to the Channel Islands. Like, I'm very emotional, as you know. That's how I celebrate the endings. And I honestly think that might be why during my military child years of moving around, that, the goodbyes, there was always going to be a goodbye, but man, I would honor that with tears and fond memories. And I was doing that with this boat. And also staying open to what's to come. And that will be a new exciting chapter for the both of us, instead of saying, this is the end. We're never going to be able to have this community. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm so lucky and fortunate that the Partners of Commercial Fishermen exist, because you all are family, whether we've met or not. We get each other and we'll always get each other no matter what's going on. And I cherish that with all my heart. And yeah, I just can't say enough about it. We are the village. We are a village for you whenever you need someone to lean on. And it's amazing that we can call on each other like this, that we haven't even met, but we can just pop into these chats and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm really feeling down. Or we're selling the boat. Do you know anybody who has a permit? Or we're looking to sell a permit. Do you know anybody looking to buy one? I mean, all of this. So yes, we sold the boat. Who knows what will come? Like I said, Chris went from I'm done with fishing to I'm done with fishing for now to I wonder what that fisherman needs a deckhand. And I feel there's so many POCFs out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. We actually talked to a recently retired fishing couple, and the partner, the fisherman, was having a difficult time trying to figure out what the next step, what does retirement look like? Maybe it was retire. I think for him, it was retirement for maybe a month, and then he was out back on the ocean doing something. Having something to get you on the ocean, whether you are getting another boat, recreational boat, or learning to recreational fish is going to be huge for fishermen, just to be able to have that continued relationship with the ocean in some sort, any kind of body of water. And for the partners, it's the same. I mean, it's not going to instantly, the switch isn't going to instantly flip like that. You're always a part of this family. You put so much heart and soul into it that there's no way that this isn't part of you. And what's interesting also is that I've learned that POCFs whose fishermen have retired, some of them have even gotten more involved than they had before in the fishery. I know someone whose fisherman retired, and now she has a seat on in the local council, and she's helping to make decisions on the fisheries to help evoke positive change for fishing families in the communities. And I just freaking love that, because all this momentum we have, it doesn't just stop. It doesn't have to just stop. How about that? It doesn't have to just stop. We can keep going in any way that feels good and supportive for us. And for me, that is having space for us always. This Partners of Commercial Fishermen is here. You have a community. We understand there are women who are in our private community that have fishermen that are retired, who have been with them for 40, 50 years. Some who have just started dating their fishermen that are deckhands in Alaska to buying their boats. I mean, it's all over the map. And that's what I love is this experience. It's no matter what the difference is of what fishery, what hemisphere you live in, how long you've been in the game, we speak a similar language that not everybody understands, and it never goes away. Once you've lived the life, you get it. That's just it. You speak the language. You have a strong love for the ocean and seafood and the people that make it all possible. And they will forever be your village. We will always be your village. We are those with salt in our blood forever. How lucky are we? And if you want to connect further, let's go. You can email me at support@pocfpride.com or hop on to our home port at pocfpride.com. As always, thank you for being you, for making this community what it is, for being a support system for everyone and myself. I love you. Thank you for tuning in every week and for spending time with us. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. Until then, much love, so much gratitude, and POCF pride. Until next time. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you'd tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.